Hey folks, looks like some changes are coming, not only with the announced DLC, but something big. Something real big in the Empyrion universe, so perhaps a sequel? Looks to be a sequel, possibly. At the very least, it is going to be a title within the Empyrion universe, so we'll get into that later. If you want to, go ahead and skip ahead, but for right now, let's go ahead and look at some of the new content coming with the expansion here, the DLC. EMPYRION Galactic Survival Dark Faction. What we have here on Eleon's website, new features announced. Wake up on a derelict ship and discover what has befallen the crew. Uncover the secrets of the Dark Faction and how to stop its spread across the galaxy. So it kind of sounds like they're playing on the, if not expanding on the, was it Stranded at Nemesis? Or whatever that scenario was where we wake up in a CV and try to find a way to escape. Maybe that's the kind of start they're going for there. And how to stop its spread across the galaxy. And so it kind of sounds like it's going to be a dynamic thing with this faction here, which would be really interesting. We don't really have that going on now. You don't never see like the Krill or Xerax or Legacy or anything like that doing like some active expansion throughout the galaxy. So if that's a change here, that would be pretty awesome. Imagine scenario modders implementing that sort of system into current factions and stuff like that to make a dynamic universe. That would be really cool. So we have here what Dark Faction planets explore a new and deadly environment that's spreading across the galaxy. So there again, it's hinting at maybe being some sort of dynamic universe. Maybe the faction expands. Maybe it consumes planets and converts them. Hopefully this is a thing, not just wishful thinking. That would really make it a interesting universe, because it's kind of static at the moment. So to have something like that would be a really nice addition. So Dark Faction building units. Expand your creativity with a new set of organic building blocks. So I think with that, it can be inferred that the construction set that they use to assemble the POIs or the environments or whatever to facilitate the scenario, that's probably going to be made public. So probably some of the things we're looking at here in some of the screenshots, like what I have circled here in green, the hanging organic looking blocks. It's worth noting that it looks like there's some sort of effect going on the textures there. It looks like a bump map possibly. Maybe some sort of, maybe a new texture, new color, or something to that effect. You can see that there on the grounds. Some things going on with the walls there, same sort of thing. I don't know if it's gonna be its own texture, but looks like a bump map. We can also see that the devices aren't affected, so the ventilator, the door, none of that seems to be impacted by this, I guess, dynamic infecting thing going on. So that's a thing. New devices. Craft new powerful devices such as the Translocator, Phase Shield, and Corrupted Shield. That's interesting. So perhaps that's something that ties in with the new melee system. I've actually suggested an idea like this before. I wonder if this is this concept being realized. But so I had been a proponent for melee combat before. Some of the downsides of that being that you're at a disadvantage not using a ranged weapon, because then you're obviously open to attacks, debuffs, and all the penalties therein. So maybe like the Phase Shield and Corrupted Shield, that's perhaps something that's for the player as far as like a personal shield. So maybe we could think in regards to something like Dune, where that whole concept of having a personal shield in conjunction with melee weapons, maybe that's the thing here. Translocator, possibly if I don't know, I guess if I'm gonna give it a shot as far as guessing what that is, maybe that's something playing off of the teleportation system planet side, the TT command. So maybe they're going to tie that into that system somehow, and perhaps we would be able to teleport across planets. Would be interesting if that's the thing. So last thing here is updated melee combat. We've updated melee combat, which plays a large role from the beginning of the scenario. Interesting how they worded that as updated melee combat, because the only thing we had in play right now is the essentially just the chainsaw. So now if they went ahead and added, you know, new animations, maybe like a block or something like that, really fleshed it out, that could be really cool. I could see modders going off the rails with this thing. You know, you can think lightsabers or plasma swords, full set of medieval weaponry, katanas. Looking at some of the screenshots here, looks like we have our first look at some of the melee. Potentially a two-handed weapon here. It'd be interesting to see if they're going to have like options. So would it be just two-handed weapons, or could there be like a one-handed weapon with an offhand? Maybe a pistol, or potentially a shield, something to that effect. Looks like in the background maybe there's some objective-oriented POIs that need to be taken out. That glowing obelisk, is that somehow tie into the infection process? Maybe disabling that disables the infection on the planet, something to that effect. Looks like so they're taking their assets and modifying them. We can see what looks like different animations, different postures. Seems to be a variety of NPCs, everything essentially. So it looks like Xerax, potentially Talon. Let's see here, a couple other screenshots. So yeah. Looks like a Talon, Xerax, and not sure I'm not right if that's a Krill or if that's just that generic alien. So some interesting things here. We see like these growths, looks like fungal growths, so perhaps with the lore it's tied into something like a cordyceps fungus here on Earth, where being infected by the fungus, it kind of turns the being into a zombie. So maybe that's what we're looking at here. Maybe that's what they're going with the lore. Could be interesting. Another thing here is the, I guess all the creatures, really. So, if the planet gets infected, all the planets, or I'm sorry, all of the life forms, is it some sort of dynamic live thing that happens? That would be interesting to see. Or is it like you have to leave the playfield in order for this thing to kick off, or what? Yeah, so a lot of question marks on how that's going to play out. Sure is interesting. Looking forward to all of it. Would love to see it be dynamic. So if that's a thing, again, that's something we could be implementing into other scenarios. You could just go wild with imagination as to what you're doing with that. Again, also with the melee stuff. So there's going to be a lot of options to mess around with all of that. In addition to all that, we have Eleon announcing we've partnered with Funcom. In addition, we're delighted to announce that we've partnered with Funcom for marketing duties on our future projects. So, Eleon aren't outright announcing what's being announced on the other websites, which we'll go into here in the future. But they're alluding to it. So that goes for Dark Faction and beyond, they say. Funcom's previous publishing record includes Shiro Games, Dune, Spice Wars, and The Outsiders multi-award-winning Metal Hellsinger. They are also the developers of the open-world survival game Conan Exiles, so a lot of time put into it. Funcom, I'm not sure how to feel about that. I know Funcom falls under the umbrella of Tencent, and there's a lot of us that have thoughts on that, so I'll reserve on that. But I do view it with some peppering of skepticism. So hopefully it's just a partnering thing, you know, as they say. Hopefully it doesn't expand too much for that. Now, that's always been a criticism, not just from me, but from plenty of other people, is the marketing side for Eleon. They don't really put it out there. They don't put the game out there. You don't see the advertising. So I can't, me personally, I can't critique them in that regard. I like to see that they're doing things, that they're moving the chains forward in that and towards that direction to getting this game that we know and love out there to the public in some capacity. So the fact that they're doing the DLC, that's great because that's going to bring in some old folks and potentially catch some new eyeballs. But also if they're partnering up and they're getting some traction as far as like the advertising and stuff, that's good for them. So me personally, would I like to see them go with someone besides Funcom? Absolutely. But if this works out for them and the game happens to blossom as a result of it, that's perfect. With Funcom taking care of marketing, we're free to focus entirely on development. And as you will see with the Dark Faction, this has given us the opportunity to raise the bar for both quality and quantity of our content. Well, those are some big words, so we'll see how we'll see how it pans out. That's interesting. That's definitely a challenge, a boastful challenge. So we'll be looking at that, Eleon. We're not going to take that lightly. So now you've stated that, we're going to have some high expectations, and we certainly hope you deliver on that. A new chapter for EMPYRION. We want to thank you all so much for your support. Being able to release a DLC of this size and scope is a big milestone that we couldn't have achieved without your support over the years. We look forward to entering this new chapter for EMPYRION with all of you. That's good. So, and I've said it before personally. For those of you who've happened to tune in during my streams, like, I would like to see EMPYRION in that sort of healthy state where they could have some DLC stuff. But I was thinking maybe more along the lines of like cosmetic stuff. I'd like to have them. I think the ideal thing with this game is I'd like to see it in a state where the character models are developed better, and then maybe there's some sort of dynamic armor system where we could attach pieces to it as far as like cosmetics, and maybe that could be associated with some sort of DLC, like a cosmetics pack. So, and then maybe teaming up with some other IPs, like imagine like Star Wars or something, and we could have like Stormtrooper armor or Jedi armor or something to that effect. I would love to see the game on that sort of level. So maybe this could eventually evolve into that. Perhaps that's too big of a milestone to think about, but it's heading in some direction. It's heading forward. So the good thing is it's not static. So I don't think we can critique them in that regard, that they're at least trying to move the game forward. So by them doing this with the DLC, hopefully that would be well towards giving them a sort of cash infusion to get them to get the talent that they need in order to move the bar on this game that we all know and love. So yeah, so mostly positive with this as far as the outlook. I like to see that there's development, the new assets potentially, as far as like mechanics wise with the expanding faction, if that's a thing. I'm looking forward to that. Melee combat, that would be cool too. So yeah, a lot of interesting things. I don't know how I feel about the blocks. I think it's just going to be what we previewed in the pictures earlier with showing some of the indoor shots with the hanging organic looking thing. I don't know if it's going to be too much more than that, which how would that play into a ship that I build? I don't think I could really get too much out of it. Maybe if I made like a garden or something, maybe I could use some of these assets. Certainly probably POIs. If I get around to that, other POI makers could look forward to some of the new blocks for sure, yeah. So, well, on to the other big news. It's coming from Game Watcher. Funcom working with Eleon Game Studios on EMPYRION sequel. Dark Faction expansion releasing in February. Funcom has announced it is partnering with Eleon Game Studios to help provide funding and publishing services for its EMPYRION game. Blah, blah, blah. The extra funding and resources will allow Eleon Game Studios to begin working on the next title in the EMPYRION universe, while putting together the final touches on the planned Dark Faction expansion. So it distinguishes that it's two entities. Some other EMPYRION title in addition to the Dark Faction expansion. So it might have been confusing at the title there, but that is cleared up there. Which is due to be released on Steam and in the Epic Games Store on the 6th of February. So that's courtesy of Game Watcher. I'll be providing the links in the description if y'all guys want to check it out. So the second one here is Eleon and Funcom partner to expand EMPYRION Sandbox Survival Universe. So this is courtesy of the Funcom website. So it's not just whatever Game Watcher was pulling their source from. This presumably is it. Do they have insider information as to if it is specifically the EMPYRION sequel? Possibly. But certainly at the very least it seems to be a EMPYRION title. Now that's not to be confused with some sort of expansion or DLC, because the title in itself is a new entity. It's a new game. So it's a standalone. So it can't be a DLC or an expansion or add-on or anything to that effect. It's a title. Let's see here. So EMPYRION developers freedom. Let's see here. Funcom and Eleon Game Studios announced today a new partnership that will give the EMPYRION developers freedom to focus entirely on development of future EMPYRION projects, while Funcom contributes with funding and publishing services. Besides a new unannounced EMPYRION title. So that's coming from Funcom, who are now working with Eleon. So that's concrete, that's certified. We are getting something new in the EMPYRION universe. That's not an add-on. It is not as DLC, a title. So potentially the sequel, or potentially some sort of standalone game that's going to be set in the EMPYRION universe. Not sure what that could be, what that could entail, but presumably this would be a sequel, a true sequel. The two companies are also bringing Dark Faction, the first ever expansion to the original game, to Steam and Epic Games Store on February 6th, 2024. Okay, so there it is. Yeah, we may very well have a sequel here. None of this is being revealed on the EMPYRION website, so if you guys scour the internet, you're looking at other sources, you're going to come up with this data. I don't know why Eleon aren't mentioning anything of that, but this is big news. So I would presume a sequel. Space Engineers has announced their sequel, so maybe Eleon, in an effort to keep stride with them, they want to launch their own sequel as well. So that'd be interesting. Certainly looking forward to any more news on that. If I find out anything, I'll let you guys know. I've been asking around as far as like some details on the DLC itself, Dark Faction. Not really able to come up with anything other than just what's alluded to here in the video. So if I do find more on that, I'll keep you posted on that as well. So if you enjoyed what you're seeing here, please like and subscribe. There'll be more to come. I'm as hooked into this as you are, so this is my game, this is my jam. If you guys want to see more of this content, let me know below. Let me know what you think about this potential new sequel coming. Let me know what you think about Dark Faction, your thoughts on that. So, yeah, pretty exciting. Till then, I'll get you some updates on that. Y'all have a good one. LyfeForce out. Hey folks, if you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you gain access to exclusive builds not featured on the workshop, early access builds, as well as participate in a number of things, including polls, feedback, comments, suggestions, ideas, or anything you'd like to submit to current and future builds. If any of this appeals to you, please consider becoming a patron today. Link in the pinned comment below. Thank you.